What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, and we have so much to talk about. Football is so back, and I am so excited about it. It's been a great, last 7 days now that practices are back, football's in full swing. We had extensions to talk about, we've got toes to talk about, we've got pads to talk about. Football's back, and I am just devouring all of the content that's out there right now. It's fantastic. Twitter every morning because of all the practices that are going on super early at like 8:30. You've got all the podcasts and all the shows that you need to watch. You got all the interviews. Aaron Glenn's talking every day. It's just been an awesome, awesome time to be a football fan. And there's a football game literally 3 days away. Thursday night is the first football game, the Hall of Fame game, to kick off this entire training camp, preseason, off-season, everything. So excited to be back. And we have a lot to talk about today. So what I want to do is I want to go through, obviously, a trivia question. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to go into a little bit about the news and notes from Jets practice. I went to practice on Saturday. I want to walk you through all the things that I saw, that I heard. I will incorporate things that I've heard from other practices as well, so you get a better idea of what's like being there, what's going on with all the players, who's doing well, who's not doing well. From there, we'll go into our gym break. Obviously, we got to have one of the gym breaks. Then we'll do our MVPs and LVPs of training camp so far. So that's our most valuable players and our least valuable players. I'll give you 3 from each category just to get a better sense of who's doing well and who's not. And then finally, we'll just wrap up with some general NFL notes, news, all that kind of stuff, because there's been a lot going on. A lot of signings, things like that, people getting cut. So, we got a good amount of stuff to talk about. But let's get started with the trivia question. So the trivia question for today is, in 2014, the Jets general manager, John Idzik, famously had 12 draft picks, known as the Idzik 12. For some reason, he didn't trade any of them, which is crazy. But who are the 12 players that he drafted? If you can get all 12, that will be, without looking anything up, that would be extremely, extremely impressive, because I'll throw like a little fun fact. Almost none of them worked out, except for maybe one. Probably just one. So good luck with that. I will come back to the answer to the trivia question at the end as we march on. So good luck with that trivia question. All right, so let's talk about Jets training camp so far. There has been a lot going on, a lot in the news. It's been a really exciting week, maybe even heart-wrenching week in some cases. Very dramatic. We're a dramatic bunch. But let's talk about Jets practice from a higher level. Number one, I go to practice on Saturday, and, it's back together Saturday. No pads, nothing like that. And it is just so obvious when you watch this practice how involved Aaron Glenn is. He is bopping all over the place. He's so energetic. I don't understand where he gets all his energy from. And I think he just loves football that much, which is crazy. He was with the offense. He's with the defense. He's with every position group. He was even running drills. He is the guy who's explaining how each drill should go, not the position coaches, which I thought was so interesting. And you can tell there's excitement and another level of energy to these practices that I'm watching. On Saturday, in particular, they did again, this is no pads, so there wasn't real tackling or no one going to the ground, nothing like that. But they did this version of the Oklahoma drill, I guess I would call it. It's literally one offensive player and one defensive player across from each other. And the offensive player's got to try to get by him. The defensive player's got to try to tackle him. It was so fun to watch and so exciting. And the players were going nuts whenever someone on their side of the ball made a big play. Sauce stopped Garrett Wilson twice on that. And, we are criticizing Sauce for not being a great tackler last year. But yeah, this is all open space, open field tackling. And it was really fun to watch. There were some really great plays there, and the fans were going crazy. So it was really cool. And I heard today in pads, they did almost the same thing, where you got to wrap people up. And I heard Braylon Allen got stopped a few times. I heard the safeties did really well. Tony Adams, Andre Sisco, Malachi Moore, we'll talk about them, but they were looking good. So yeah, there was a lot of good stuff that's coming from the Aaron Glenn training camp. It's definitely Bill Parcells-esque. I read something today that the New York Jets haven't had real tackling in a training camp practice since Rex Ryan, which means it was before the new CBA that disallowed some of this, excessive tackling and the excessive work you put in. So we're not going to tackle every day. It's not going to be all out every single time they play. But the fact that Aaron Glenn just started off practice one with pads with like real live tackling is awesome. So very excited. Aaron Glenn just feels like he just loves what he's doing. And it's so different from seeing Robert Saleh, who kind of lost his energy a little bit. I guess the Jets just slowly killed all of his motivation, where he would stand on the sidelines, his arms crossed, let the position coaches and the coordinators do what they do. Now, Aaron Glenn is involved. It is crazy. Another thing that's really exciting about this training camp, referees are actually on the field. For some godforsaken reason, last year, Robert Saleh did not hire referees to put on the field during training camp, so we became the most penalized team in the league because no one knew what a penalty was. We weren't being disciplined. We were just a disaster last year. And Aaron Glenn still says, like, look, there are going to be some penalties that, you tried and, you just got a bad call or whatever. Pass interference, holding, that happens during the play. But it's the false starts, the offsides, the personal fouls, all that kind of stuff that we can't have this year because we're not good enough to overcome penalties. So it's great to see that we've got referees on the field that are actually watching what we're doing and holding the team accountable to make sure that, we're not going to do anything wrong. So that was great. Let me take you through a little bit about this practice. So I took a bunch of notes, so I'm going to be looking down at my phone to recap everything that I saw. But there are a couple of players I want to highlight. There are a couple of plays I want to highlight from that practice on Saturday, and then I'll infuse some things from today. All right, the first thing that happens to me. So I get to practice. They drop us off on a bus, essentially, and you roll through like this little area that has food. It's got like jerseys and stuff that you can go buy, like all the apparel. It's got like little blow up things for, your kids to play on and run around on, like little obstacle courses. They can do a high jump. They can do a 40-yard dash, like all that kind of stuff. They had Bilal Powell was there signing autographs, and Damian Woody, I think, showed up too. And then you walk all the way around the back and around the entire field to get to where the stands are. So it's like it's a pretty long walk. You're walking around like four football fields to get over to where the stands are. And on my way there, there's like a line of porta potties because, there's a lot of fans. So they have all the bathrooms lined up on the right. And I'm like looking over to my left, and out of nowhere, there's like a fence that blocks in the field so that fans can't go on the field, obviously. Out of nowhere, this player straight up leaps over the fence, runs by me, and goes right into the porta potty, which is so weird because the locker room's right behind him. But I guess it was the fastest place he could go. And who is it? It's Will McDonald. So Will McDonald hops this fence, and he's wearing number 9, so a new number, and I just yelled at him, "What's up, Will?" And he just waves and just keeps running to the bathroom. First of all, when I first saw him, I didn't think it was him because he looks huge. Now, I know he's only gained like 10, 15 pounds, but that is a huge deal for a guy who's tall, lanky, and now is built. Oh man, I got very excited. We will talk more about Will McDonald because he was a freak out there on Saturday. I mean, the spin moves, he could have gotten to Tyrod Taylor in just the fields multiple times, which was incredible. The play that stood out the most, though, and this is like a welcome to the NFL moment for rookie Armand Membu. So luckily, Armand Membu gets to block Will McDonald every day. And Will McDonald has a wide array of spin moves and other things that he can do that Armand Membu is probably not used to. So it's going to be great practice for him to get ready to play against a premier. I think Will McDonald will be a premier defensive end this year. But man, Will McDonald got him bad in, I think it was like a 2-minute drill I think they were doing. Will McDonald normally is like a speed rusher. So he's going to try to beat you around the corner, or he's going to do his spin move to spin back to the inside or right to the outside to beat you, get right to the quarterback. So speed is his game. But on this play, he just goes helmet into the chest and just bull rushes Armand Membu, knocks him right over. And there's no pads on at this time. So this does not really happen that often when you get a bull rush in practice that knocks someone off their feet. And Armand Membu is a big man. So to see that happen, I was like, oh man, Will McDonald is unlocking another piece to his game. This is going to take him from just a situational third down pass rusher to now being an every down D end who can play the run, who can bull rush, who can spin, who can speed rush. It's really, really exciting. If there are any prop bets out there with Will McDonald over-unders on sacks, I would take the over. I think this guy's going to have a big year, and he had 10 sacks last year. It was like the most underrated 10-sack season because the Jets were so bad. So it was great watching him. Will McDonald was awesome, and that little story, I think, like really started my whole training camp experience really well with him just running to the bathroom in front of me. Let's talk about Justin Fields. Obviously, we had a panic attack. Everyone freaked out. We thought the season was over because we were going to have Justin Fields was going to be out. He gets carted off. No one has any idea what's going on. And we're like, great. Tyrod Taylor's a great quarterback to have as a backup, but he's only going to last 4 games before he's out. Thank God. Turns out he only dislocated his toe, and he was right back out there. So I'm watching him in training camp on Saturday. He didn't play the 11-on-11 drills. He did today in Monday's practice in pads because, he didn't want to get his foot stepped on. That totally makes sense. He actually looked really good in those 7-on-7s. Now, remember, it's just 7-on-7, but he looked really good. He was very precise, making good decisions. He didn't hold the ball too long, and he had some really nice passes. He threw one deep bomb to Tyler Johnson, which went for a touchdown. Split the defense. It was great pass. So he looked good. And after practice, he was one of the last ones on the field. Saw him doing sprints back and forth, up and down the field, and stretching out a little bit. So it was good to see him running. I think if this was the regular season and we had a game on Sunday, he'd be playing. That's the way I look at it. So good to see Justin Fields. Probably the best play of camp that I saw while I was there on Saturday, Tyrod Taylor throws a beautiful ball to what I predict is our number 2 receiver, and it seems pretty clear, Josh Reynolds, over his left shoulder with Sauce in coverage. Perfect pass. It was really great to see. And Josh Reynolds, he's actually a bigger guy than I thought in terms of his height. So it's nice to have that size across from Garrett Wilson. But he made a great play. And, if you can go up against Sauce Gardner with a backup quarterback and make a play like that, you got to feel pretty good as long as he can stay healthy that, okay, he's a football player. He's not going to be one of the worst, receiving cores that we ever had. So hopefully he can stay healthy and play well. Next thing I want to talk about. Oh, man, this guy, unbelievable. Braylon Allen. I think he's only 20 years old still. So he's probably still last year was the youngest player in the entire NFL. I'm assuming this year, I think he maybe just turned 21. Still one of the youngest players in the NFL. This guy is built. He is jacked out of his mind. Like, his pants were like ripped in a way. It looked like he ripped out of his pants. He is so big. He ran the ball really well. Looked really strong. He had a great catch down the sideline. I think it was Tyrod Taylor found him down the sideline. He was wide open and then beat the safeties to the end zone for a touchdown. So he is looking really great, and I think that combination of Breece and him, with Isaiah Davis as well as the third running back, you could tell Braylon Allen is meant to be a part of this team for the long run because he's young. He's like the David Montgomery type that the Lions had. So we're hoping we can get the same thing out of Braylon Allen this year. So very excited to see him. I don't know why we just stopped using him last year. It was so weird. Next, we had a lot of people mixing in and out with the ones. I saw this Josh Myers playing center. It's a real competition. They are really switching out him and Joe Tippmann pretty often. I know they're not really allowed to talk about that from a beat writer perspective, but that's what I saw when I was watching. He played a lot. So I'm curious to see what is the game plan here? It's like Tippmann is good. Why are we doing this? But I guess it's good to give people as much reps as possible. And obviously Justin Fields went to college with our center, Josh Myers. So they have that connection where, the chemistry's there. So I also saw Fedarian Mathis. He's one of our D tackles. He was running next to Quinnen Williams a few times. I was surprised because I don't think he's going to be someone who even makes the roster. So it was interesting to see that rotation between Quinnen, Byron Cowart, Fedarian Mathis, Leonard Taylor. It was definitely a rotation amongst the people that were going to play next to Quinnen Williams. I was just surprised that Fedarian Mathis was one of them. Someone who didn't play that well on Saturday. Brees, I don't know. I just didn't see it from him. He fumbled once on a long run, and this is without pads, so I don't even know how you fumble without pads. You're not hitting each other. So that was interesting. I think he also dropped a pass once as well. I don't know. It just wasn't the greatest Brees day. He didn't get me hyped up. I thought Braylon Allen looked a lot better than him. And in a contract year, he's got to play well. But hey, it's early. It's just practice, so it's fine. Let's see what else happened. We talked about Sauce versus Garrett in that one-on-one drill. Ooh, this was a good one. Rookie Arian Smith. He didn't make a lot of plays in the receiving game. I saw him in the little drills that they do, and he looked fine. But they ran an end around to Arian Smith, and so much space. He had so much room in front of him. Great blocking by the offensive line and the tight ends and receivers. But man, you could see that speed. Once he goes, and it's going to be tough to stop him. So I'm really curious to see how much we use that throughout the season. Is he our Jameson Williams? That's the big question. Probably not in the first or second year. He's got to stay healthy, and he's got to work on catching the ball. Those are the two big things. If he can do those things, he'll be fine, and we'll see him a lot. But if not, then he'll be stuck to these little dink and dunk plays like an end around. But it was a fast end around, I'll tell you that. So it's good to see him. Another young player who really stood out on a very specific play. We ran a pitch play to Breece Hall, and our left tackle, hopefully a guy that is going to be our next to Brickishaw Ferguson, Olu Fashanu, goes out on the run, and just, if pads were on, he would have devoured this cornerback the way he hit him. And sure, he's a lot bigger than him, all that kind of stuff, but to see him move that way and get all the way out on the edge and take out a corner was awesome. It was a great block. So very exciting to see Olu on the move. Next player I got excited about, my guy. This is a guy that I'm just so pumped to watch, and I hope he gets to play in the regular season, but Azareye'h Thomas. Azareye'h Thomas was our third-round pick out of Florida State this year, plays corner. He had a great read. I think it was Brady Cook throwing, so, it wasn't the best quarterback in the world throwing the pass. But he had a great interception, broke it, probably would have been a touchdown for pick 6. He just jumped right in front of the receiver and read it perfectly. So excited about him. I was trying to watch him as much as possible, but it was kind of tough because there was a lot going on. There was a lot of players I was trying to watch. So I am still really excited about AZ Thomas, though. On the bad side, kickers. Whew. I don't know what we're going to do about this kicker thing. It was hilarious watching the thicker kicker, though. I did not expect him to look the way he looked, and he is definitely thick. So it was funny to watch him, but they were very inconsistent. I think it was him and Caden Davis, very inconsistent with their kicking. I think the thicker kicker kind of locked in towards the end of practice. I think he was 6 for 6 at the end of practice. I heard he had a good day today. So we'll see. I have some other kicker news right after this that we'll talk about, but yeah, that was interesting. Probably the best player on the field the entire day, though. This is someone you've probably never heard of. An undrafted rookie defensive tackle out of Clemson, Peyton Page. Awesome day. Now, he is probably playing with the 3s. He might have been playing with the 2s. He was back and forth. So you got to remember, when he's doing that, he's playing against these guards that probably also aren't going to make the team. So it's not like he's playing against AVT when he's making these plays. But he was constantly in the backfield. He was blowing up run plays left and right. I was like, who is this dude? So that was great to see. Because he's a guy who, we thought, okay, it could be a practice squad guy. But that means he can get pulled up to the regular, to the actual active roster at any time when you're on the practice squad. So great to see that there's some young depth there. I would love to see more of it. It sounds like he had a pretty good day today too. So yeah, Peyton Page, a name to watch out for in the preseason because he's probably going to get a lot of looks. So look out for him. So those were the big things that I took away from practice. I feel like a lot of the people we thought were going to do well. Oh, actually, there's one more thing I want to talk to you about. It was very obvious. The wide receivers are all lining up right in front of me on the sideline, and we got a really small group of wide receivers. Besides, Garrett's okay tall. He's I think he's 6 foot. And then you got Lazard and Reynolds, who are pretty tall. Everyone else, I'm dang, we got a lot of small players like Malachi Corley, Jamal Pritchett, Xavier Gibson. I'm we need some more height on this team. Even Aaron Smith's not that tall. Brandon Smith's kind of tall, but he didn't really stand out to me. I know other people have really liked what he's done in training camp, but I didn't really see it on Saturday. I also wasn't like watching him intently either, so he could have had a better day than I thought. But yeah, I'm like, it's a small group of receivers, and at least on the back end, it's like receiver 4, 5, 6, and if you have a seventh receiver, are all going to be super tiny. They're all going to be under 5'10", which is not great. And in particular, Jamal Pritchett is so small. He had a really good day of practice. He caught everything. He was always getting open, but he's so tiny. I'm like, is this guy going to get hurt? Like, I don't know. So that was really interesting. But yeah, those are my takeaways from practice. I feel like there's a lot of good things happening in training camp right now, and I feel pretty good about what's been going on. Like there was no one that I looked at and I was like, oh my god, you are having the worst camp of all time. I think everyone's been good to okay, all right, so let's talk about today. So today they had pads on. From the pads perspective, I think a couple people stood out, even though I wasn't there today. It's just from reading, listening, hearing Aaron Glenn speak. People that stood out that I think wouldn't normally stand out without pads, but with them, that's where that's football. And they're football players. And I think one is Malachi Moore, the safety out of Alabama who we just drafted this year. Everybody's talking about, can he take Tony Adams' spot as our starting safety? And I think today he showed that he could in that competition because he can tackle, he can hit. But also Tony Adams had a really good day. And then on top of that, I think one of the pure standouts from training camp so far has been Andre Cisco, who was a safety from Jacksonville that we signed, who was for sure one of our starting safeties. So there's been a lot of good stuff happening with the safety room, even though it's probably one of the weaker positions on our team. So if Andre Cisco can lock down that one spot, and then if Malachi Moore can beat out Tony Adams, and we got Tony Adams as our third safety, I think that's a good situation. And even if it's flipped to start the year, even if it's Tony Adams starts and then Malachi Moore is the third safety, it's good to get those guys on the field. So very excited about that safety room. I think there's some good stuff there. Otherwise, from today, I know Justin Fields got back into 11-on-11 today and didn't get hurt, so that was great. One of our linemen did get hurt, but he was someone lower on the depth chart. He was a rookie undrafted free agent center. That's going to happen when you're putting on pads, so not too surprising. But other than that, then last thing was the quarterbacks. So obviously you got Justin Fields 1, you got Tyrod Taylor 2, and it looked like Adrian Martinez was going to be QB 3. But then in the last 3 or 4 days, starting really on Saturday when I was there, Adrian Martinez kind of took a little bit of a step back, and Brady Cook really kind of took over. He played pretty well on Saturday, and it sounds like he played well again today with the pads on. So things are looking up for Brady Cook. So we'll see if he can survive and make this roster. But if not, I think we need one on the practice squad, and I think he could be the guy. Because Adrian Martinez, we kind of know what he's going to be, and he's just a running quarterback who has his moments, but I don't think he's going to be a superstar. Well, Cook, he's got some potential. He's a potential backup quarterback. So why not have him on the roster? Why not have him on the practice squad? And then the only other person I want to shout out is Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor's had a good couple days, catching touchdowns, diving all over the place. He's looking good. So happy to have a tight end that is a rookie that, rookie tight ends don't normally put up big numbers. It's not easy for them to start, but he's better than what we got. So excited to see him. All right, let's take a little bit of a pause here. Let's do our gym break. Super simple, this gym break. The Mets are the only team that are out there right now, and they've won 7 in a row. So we're kind of back on track a little bit. We just swept the Giants in San Francisco. Pete Alonso's had a couple good games. Ronnie Mauricio's had a couple good games. Edwin Diaz is just insane right now. Even plays that he should have given up a home run or he should have given up a big hit. It's just all luck is on his side, and Pete makes a huge diving play to save a game. He loads the bases last night and then strikes out the next 2. It was unbelievable. So Edwin Diaz playing great. The Mets are playing good. I wouldn't say they're back, but when you win 7 in a row, something's going right. So they've also made some moves. They traded for another Soto. We're going to collect all the Sotos, who was a reliever, which was great. We got to see him last night. So yeah, we'll see how they do. But I think they're playing the Padres to start off this week. So We'll see how they compete. Unfortunately, I can't watch all those games because they're on too late. So we'll have to hear the replays in the next morning. But that is it. That's our gym break. That's a super quick one because there's just not a lot going on. All right, finally, let's do our MVPs for training camp so far and our LVPs, or least valuable players, for training camp so far. So I've talked about these first two guys already. Clearly, I think without a doubt, the most valuable players are Will McDonald because, like I said, hit the over. I think he's going to have a really big year, especially when we get Jermaine back, where it's like, hey, you got two pass rushers you got to worry about stopping. So very excited about Will McDonald. Number 2, Braylon Allen. I think he's just a physical freak, and we're finally going to use him the way he should be used. So very excited about Braylon Allen. The third guy I'm going to put on here, I was hesitant, but he deserves it. Jamal Pritchett is just taking that wide receiver role from Xavier Gibson and Malachi Corley right now. He's always open. He's shifty. He can play special teams as a returner, and he's catching everything. So you got to give the guy some love. He's 5'8" or 5'7" or however tall. It's like me running around out there. But he's super fast. He's super quick. He's very agile. He's got good hands. So you gotta root for a guy like that. And I think you're going to see a lot of them in the preseason. So right now, I think he's taking a roster spot by the horns. I didn't pick him because I picked Malachi Corley over him to make the team, but looks like he's proving me wrong right now. So those are my MVPs so far. My LVPs, least valuable players. Alan Lazard. Haven't heard a word from him. I saw him out there. I don't know if he did anything. Is he just a blocker? I don't really know what's going on because he hasn't caught a single pass, I don't think, all of training camp. So, Alan Lazard is one of my LVPs. We need him, so we need him to play well. But if not, we might as well just ship him off. There's no point of having him here. We can just keep Jamal Pritchett instead, or Brandon Smith, or one of those guys. Number 2, Adrian Martinez. You can't be losing, as a quarterback, you can't be losing to Brady Cook. Come on. You've played in the NFL before. So he's kind of fallen off a little bit, which is not great. I thought about maybe putting the kickers here, but we'll save that one. And then my third one is Malachi Corley. I didn't see a lot from him. One of the quarterbacks threw a bad pass to him that would have been tough for him to catch, but he's just not getting involved enough. I think you really have to stand out. Hopefully he can play a lot in the preseason and get some run in, but right now I don't know if he makes the roster. I'm not sure. And everyone else is picking him not to. I still think there's a good football player in there, so I'm holding out hope. So that was it. Last thing I want to talk about, we're going to go into NFL notes, but the first one is a Jet-related note. The New York Jets, in the biggest news of the day, worked out a Jets legend to potentially come back and play for the team. And yes, that is kicker Nick Folk. I don't know how this guy is still playing football, but he's still playing it at a high level. If you look at his numbers from the past few years, he's looked good. I think last year he kicked a 56-yarder. I think he was 25 for 25 on extra points or something like that. He's still got it. And right now, these kickers look so shaky. So if you want to keep and sign Nick Folk and you want to cut one of the other guys, maybe the thicker kicker goes to the practice squad, that sounds great to me. But Nick Folk still around. We miss him. Hopefully he had a good workout because I need somebody that's reliable because we probably lost 3 games last year because our kicker couldn't kick. So we'll see. I mean, he's old, but we'll see. You never know when that fall off is going to happen, but it might be soon. It might not be. So I'd rather put my faith in Nick Folk than these 2 random dudes who has never played in the NFL before. All right, other NFL notes. The only big things I want to call out is, let's see, Eli Apple signed with the 49ers. Not a big deal to us. The Dolphins, they've lost some folks across cornerback, safety, so they signed Mike Hilton and Jack Jones. Interesting signings. I don't think it moves the needle because Jack Jones is in trouble, so I don't really know. Jake Ferguson gets an extension with the Cowboys. So that was, 4 years? Yeah, 4-year extension worth $52 million. So that's an interesting one. Not that we have any tight ends to pay, so I'm not too worried about it. Courtland Sutton, wide receiver for the Broncos, locks in a 4-year, $92 million extension. I'm glad, once again, Garrett Wilson beat him to the punch, even though I don't think it would have impacted his signing too much anyway. The big one is Rashawn Slater, the Chargers offensive tackle. So it's a 4-year extension. I think it's $30.2 million a year. I think that's an interesting one because as those climb, 4 years from now, that's when Olu, that's when Membu could eventually climb. But we don't even know if they're good yet, so I'm not going to worry about it now. Um, I wonder how if the offensive tackle market impacts the guard market at all, because obviously we got John Simpson and AVT coming up on extension, so we'll see what happens there. The other big things, Cordell Patterson released by the Steelers. He's kind of like your gadget player. I don't see the Jets making a move on him, so I wouldn't worry. Christian Wilkins cut by the Raiders. That's a lot of money, but it sounds like he's got foot injuries. It sounds like he had disputes with people in the locker room. I don't see the Jets making a move for a guy that's going to be that expensive, so I think he'll go somewhere else. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I think those are the big news and notes from training camp so far. All right. Wow, a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm very excited. I'm just like eating this content up. I love all of it. It's so great. So with that, let's wrap up with answering the trivia question. So in 2014, Jets general manager John Idzik had 12 draft picks, now known as the famous Idzik 12. He never traded once the entire draft. And this was actually the first draft I ever went to live at Radio City. And I sat there for all 3 days watching these 12 draft picks. And I didn't know almost any of them because I didn't care as much about the draft back then. This really opened my eyes to it. In a bad way, I guess. But here are the Idzik 12. If you got them all, you deserve a medal or to be put in an institution. I'm not sure. But Calvin Pryor, pick number 1. That was the Louisville Slugger, safety. Pick number 2, Jason Morrow, the tight end. Pick number 3, Dexter McDougal, the corner out of Maryland. Pick in round 4, Jalen Saunders, Shaquille Evans, and Dakota Dozier. All 3 players in round 4. 2 of them receivers, 1 an offensive lineman. In round 5, you had Jeremiah George, the linebacker, who barely lasted. In round 6, you had Brandon Dixon, the famous IK Inampali, who punched Geno Smith in the face and broke his jaw. And then the best player of this draft, wide receiver Quincy Enunwa. In round 6, you also took a quarterback from Clemson because Rex Ryan's son played with him. Taj Boyd never played a snap in the NFL. And then finally, at linebacker in round 7, Trevor Riley. If you got all 12 of those, please let me know because I got to look after you. I got to make sure you're okay. But John Idzik, he was a horrible GM. He only lasted 2 years and left us in a way deeper hole because when you have 12 draft picks, you probably shouldn't have one player that actually works out of this entire group. So just horrible. No wonder why we fell into this massive, massive hole that we're in now because we just never had the depth. But all right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. This was really fun to talk about training camp. I love it so much. I can't wait to talk about it again. I will be going to training camp again this Saturday. It is the green and white scrimmage, so it should be more like a real football game at certain points. So it should be really fun. If anyone is going, let me know. I'd love to maybe meet up. I saw a couple one of my Jet fan friends there this weekend, so it'd be good to meet up with some more folks. Other than that, if you could like, rate, review, subscribe, follow all of those things here on YouTube, on wherever you're listening to your podcasts. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, JuicyJet25. I would love to interact because there's content that's pumping out every single day on those channels. So don't miss out. Interact. I want to hear from people. And I really appreciate you all. So thank you for the time. And I will talk to you soon as more news comes out. See ya.